Welcome, friends, back to the Vocal Honey podcast. I have a very beautiful, special guest with me today who is someone who I have become very close with throughout the coaching world, but also I'm honored that she is actually inside of Vocal Honey and Amplified. And this woman is really taking the concept of becoming an icon and what it means to just check in with yourself if you're settling in your life, and how do you actually step into that energy of becoming an icon, but then also what do we do with our energy and time once we realize how valuable it is? And this relates so much to the voice. So we're about to get into it. Before I bring her on, let me intro Kelly. Kelly McIntee is a career transition and business coach, speaker, and creator of Live Well with Kell, a movement helping ambitious professionals trade burnout for freedom. How good is that? By building businesses that actually feel like them. And founder of the industry icon method, known for her blend of unfiltered truth telling and grounded wisdom. Kelly helps women stop settling for good on paper and start creating work that's deeply aligned, wildly fulfilling, and unapologetically their own. Kelly McIntee, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you. Every time I talk with you, I'm like, hi, what should we talk about?
If we talk forever, and I love it so much. This is why everyone's in for quite a treat today. Tell us about what is lighting you on fire right now in your business, and what are you obsessed with that I didn't read in your bio, maybe?
Yeah, I love that question. And actually, as you were bringing me on and introducing me, I'm always taking notes off to the side. And what I wrote down is icon to everyday people. Like, I think that's like the essence of the work that I do is a lot of people walk around the world wondering like, what's so great? What's so different? What's so significant or unique about me? But I think that we are all in our own way iconic, right? We are all icons. And when we think about that, it's like the thing that makes you iconic is like you are the only one who does it the way that you do it. You were created only the way that you are created. There is no replicate of you. And when you can learn to see yourself as that and truly own that and deeply see the value that you bring, see your deep, I like to say, like your deep bench of wisdom, unique experiences, whether it's professional, personal, school, academic, hard times in life, good times in life, when you really like start to like travel back in time and see your story and your journey, it all starts to come together. And I always say, like, when you own who you are, everything in life gets to be so much easier.
And how we get to be this icon, this everyday icon, how we get to extract that and hold it steady is something that we're going to be talking about on this podcast, guys. So stick around and grab your notebooks, grab your pens, because we're going to be talking about tactile strategies for that, but also the philosophy so that you can reframe why this is such an important topic. Speaking of going back in your history, Kelly's wearing a beautiful necklace right now, and I just want to call that forward because there's a story there.
So, end of the story first is if I would have known this, I would have been louder sooner.
Oh, come on, let's go.
That's that's like the mic
Goosebumps.
drop, right?
Yes.
And so kind of now traveling back in time, like how this started, where does that line come from? I always say like entrepreneurship is the like biggest life school that there is. Because if you think about it, right? So I help people who are starting their own businesses or running their own businesses or want to pivot. Like, but when you really think about it, it's like the audacity to go from like, oh, I have this idea to then like putting it out there in the world and talking about it and then saying like, oh, by the way, pay me for that. Like that is freaking audacious. In order to do that, that requires like the most amount of self-love you have ever experienced. And when I was starting to step into my entrepreneurial journey, like what happened is like I began to love myself so much. And I was like, this is not what I was thinking this would all be about, but that's what happens. And as I was going about that journey, we then are thinking about like putting ourselves out there, being visible, being seen on the internet, being seen in rooms, stating our opinion. And I was soon discovering like it's not the random folks on the internet that I don't know that are scaring me to put my thoughts out there. It's like the conversations at the dining room table. Like,
Mm.
oh, and one of the people that was sticking out in my mind is like someone who doesn't even have the internet. It was my grandma. I was like, what is my grandma going to think of me when I
Oh,
say,
right.
oh, you shouldn't. I grew up with this notion of like you have to hate your job essentially in order to be paid. And so I stand on this philosophy of like life is too short to not love what you do. You have to break your back in order to get paid isn't just something that came out of the blue. It's like a generations deep thing.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And
Right.
so I was on a car ride to my grandma's house with my mom, who is the oldest of her six siblings. And I just asked her, I'm like, and it's a smaller town in South Dakota where my mom is from. And I was like, is there an airport here? And she's like, yeah, there actually is. And I took my first flight on, one of these small airplanes at this small airport when I was 18. And like I was just in that moment riding in the car thinking of my mom and I was like, wow, like you are a pioneer. Like, back then to do that and she took the flight alone. She did this all alone. So then fast forward, just having this revelation and appreciation of my mom, also someone I was fearing their judgment of. We are then going through my grandma's closet. My grandma's there with us at our house. And I soon discover that my grandma, so at the time, before there was the internet, before you could just like, talk to people across the country in a matter of 2 seconds, she was a stylist. Like she was sewing clothes for a woman in New York City.
What?
Yes. And I was like, Grandma, like all this time, I was afraid of you judging me, but if I would have known you had this in you and you were doing this, like you were keeping this a secret, I wouldn't be so scared to talk about the things I'm excited to put myself out there more loudly.
Was going first. She had already gone. And you're
Yes,
saying,
and
had I just known.
yes, and she took it as far as she could take it. Then my mom, moving away, doing these big things with her life, she took it as far as she could take it. And now here I am with this torch of like, now it's my work for my daughter. That was like a few years ago. Then, not that long ago, my mom, on a separate occasion to my grandma's house, was going through more things and she found a letter addressed to my great grandma. So the thing about my great grandma is she was a teacher and a professional woman in a time when like women weren't out there as career women, as professionals.
Right.
She actually earned her bachelor's degree and completed her bachelor's degree when she was 80 years old. So she's just
Wow.
this another pioneer kind of woman. My mom brings me this letter addressed to my great grandma that is all about my great grandma's horoscope and what's meant for her and these manifestations and all of these things that like seem like new age. So
Wow.
then here we are all this time. I've also been making myself wrong about,
Mhm.
having interest in this. All this idea of like, gosh, if we would just like talk about the things that we like about, if we don't
And that's
literally
it.
keep them hidden in the closet,
Yes, that's it.
if
What's
we,
coming to me as you're saying this
yeah,
is we need to tell our stories. We need the women,
yes.
especially in the generation, to hear and know who we are.
Yes. And so it's like, why are we keeping these stories hidden in the closet? Like, I literally discovered things about my grandma in her actual closet. Like, that's my responsibility now. Now that I see this and now that I know this, like, I also have to not only talk, like, walk the talk of like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there, in my business, be louder, be more, draw a line in the sand, talk about what I believe in, but also to like, don't be quiet about it with my kids.
That brought me to what do you do now with your clients or with yourself? Because responsibility, we
Mhm.
break down that word, it gets really cool. It's the ability to respond.
Hmm.
And ability to respond to who you know you are, lineage wise, but also where you're headed. How do you know what you need to be doing and what not to be doing to be responsible with being an everyday icon, Kelly? And how do you How do you guide someone who's listening to this to say, all right, take responsibility for who you are and show up, but where does that really begin?
One of the things I've been leading into more and talking with my coaching clients is this idea of like, unfortunately, you're aware now, right? Like, it's like,
Damn
damn
it.
it, now
Yeah.
I know this. If you see these gifts in you, if you see these patterns, if you start to have greater awareness and you don't do something about it, if you don't say something, if you don't follow through with the action, like that's where the responsibility is. And one of the things that I like, it's just this model that's kind of landed and it's like timeless. It works every time. Is this idea of awareness, acknowledgement, decision. Now that you're aware, you have to acknowledge what you're aware of. Like now I know this about me. Now I know this about my grandmas. Now I know this about like what how that has impacted me. And so therefore then that dictates my decisions.
Got it. That makes sense.
Helping clients become responsible for this aspect is like just first starting with like helping them be aware of what's really awesome about them, what's unique about them, what their zone of genius, kind of where that work lies. All those sorts of things really can be like the eye opener to then them actually making decisions according to what they're now aware of about themselves.
What's coming to me when you say awareness, like that's a lot of energy to hold. I immediately, my favorite word of the year is tension. I love
Mhm.
tension, the sacred tension of how do we start to actually hold the awareness? Because as you figure out who you are and what you're here to do, you get another download. It begets another download, and all of a sudden it can be overwhelming. At that point, I bet you see clients jump back to safety. What is it that we need to know about holding and cultivating tension and feeling safe as we become more and more aware of the iconic woman that we are?
Yes. So one of the things is like the tension rises. It's a similar word to the tension is the friction. It's like this inner friction of like, I know this about me. I know that staying at this job like isn't the thing for me. Like it's the awareness. And then it's also this like oftentimes like guilt. Can I really? Is it okay if I want to leave? Is like, am I a bad employer? Am I being irresponsible as a parent, as a partner, as all these things? The friction begins to rise and it gets to become like louder and more challenging to like live with, to work with, to be like at peace with within yourself. Like what I used to be okay with, like I am not.
I see this
And
volcano just starting to bubble, and this pressure building, and then there's got to be some release valve.
yes,
And side note for everyone listening in my audience, Kelly, you do primarily work with women who are feeling stuck in corporate jobs and you help them free themselves up into what they're supposed to do next, right? So when you say the pressure of leaving a job, that's
great.
because you help women who are stuck in that the golden handcuffs of their job in a way.
And that's like exactly what it is. It's the golden handcuffs. And that's too where I was like, people aren't like getting worried about leaving a job they hate. They'll just leave the job they hate. Like that's not the problem.
Oh, right.
The problem is their job is really good.
Damn. Yep.
Got a great salary, it's got great benefits, it's got, you know, opportunity for promotions, all these like wonderful things. Like who would walk away from that? But if you get to the top of the ladder, looking around and you're like, is this all that it's cracked up to be? I feel awful. I'm snapping at my kids. And there's no spark in my relationship at home. I've gained 10 pounds. I don't have like ability or time to like actually do much self-care at all. There's a lot that happens at the top of the ladder that you stop being okay with. Then it's this balance of like, so who am I to leave?
I know exactly that's what I was before and where I was before I started this business in the second chapter of my entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Exactly that. I was in working in the IT world as a UX or user experience designer. I was doing so well that they were about to carve another path for me, probably with a pay raise that was
Yeah.
more specific to what I got my graduate degree in. On paper, 401k, matching, unlimited PTO, this amazing corporate culture. And yet I was miserable
Yeah.
inside. And it's
Hmm.
like, wow, can you leave? Can you actually leave things and listen to that inner voice that really wants to go? Can you leave when things are good? Because we're so used to it having to be shitty and terrible in order to then listen to our inner voice and jump. But imagine the power preserved for when a woman is on realizing and getting these downloads that I need to be doing something else. And
Hmm.
instead of fearing that, she holds that friction, holds that tension, and makes the leap.
Hmm.
And
Well, and that's the thing with like my coaching too, and like why I coach at that juncture of like while you're still at your job, building your business so that it doesn't feel like a leap.
oh, interesting.
It actually
Okay.
becomes like the safest next step to take because I'm helping you like create more time in your calendar while you're at the job that you're overexerting yourself to, by the way. Let's start there. That's why I use the calendar as like such a it's a very profound starting point because it's one like duh, you need to get your time back, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple. Simple is not easy. But then two, it it holds our identities of like what are you thinking about yourself? Where are you like not, why are you saying yes? Why are you continuing to try to be the good employee instead of stepping into that like CEO mindset? So I help my clients like cultivate like the CEO mindset while they are the employee, start
Mm.
generating income in their business. So then it's like, why would I stay? I've got my own thing created that staying becomes riskier than walking away.
So you're helping them build the parachute before they jumped out of the plane.
Yes. And that also significantly changes your relationship to your job.
Oh, of course.
No more does this job have to be this thing that you're chained to that you have to go to every day and gotta say yes to this, gotta say yes to this. And it's almost, it kind of flips into like, haha, joke's on you guys. You are the first investors in my business. Thank you so much. You know, it's
Oh,
like shifts that relationship where then you like, you choose to go to work, you get to go to work. And I always say, like, I want my clients to get to this point of neutrality when they leave their job because we're not about burning bridges. Because oftentimes, like the people that you work with at your job, they might be like your first clients, your first people to be your customers in your business. But we are about like burning the boats. We're not going to burn bridges, but we're going to burn the boat.
going to the calendar because this is where I learned so much about you and this very interesting viewpoint you have of the calendar. On the practical level, when you're working with someone
Mhm.
and you are looking, helping them think about their calendaring as a tool and thinking about it differently, are there a few key pieces where when they get those light bulb moments, Kelly, their life transforms? Like, is there a scheduling secret? Or once they start doing more of this thing or less of this one thing, you suddenly see the woman pivot and grow?
Yes. The scheduling secret is to pause.
To pause.
Pause, period. Like, and it's like to imagine yourself. Yes, you say yes to this thing here and now, but
Right.
it's like to then imagine yourself living in that day. Do I want to show up for this? Will I be like, because nobody wants someone to walk into a room where they feel like they have to be there.
Mm-mm, no, it's the worst.
And we want the version of you who's like happy to be like, here I am because I chose this. Part of the process is you take two steps forward and one step back. Like the calendar is always going to be there. You're going to like excel and feel really good about the choices you make. And then you're going to dip back into like, oh, I should probably say yes to this because I'm fearing this, or you know what I mean? And so the
Yeah.
client was in this space of like, kind of beating herself up about having some calendar mishap. Also, we had a conversation where she was talking about how she's really good at getting a contract and reading through it like a fine-tooth comb and ensuring like the work that she's signing up for or going to get paid more than she was at her job for is like work she wants to do. And I just shared with her, if you're good at that, what if you look at every single calendar invite as a contract for how you're going to spend your time?
Ooh, that's
And why
good.
wouldn't you treat it as something you look at as a fine-tooth comb? Treat it as a $100,000 commitment. Read through that calendar invite like a fine-tooth comb.
It's such an invitation to elevate the awareness of how valuable our in our finite amount of time is and to
Yes.
treat it with the respect that you
Yes.
deserve because you are this icon. You are this powerhouse genius woman. So look at every calendar invite like a contract, fine tooth comb. And it sounds like you're saying to us, ask yourself, is this the meeting I really want to be in?
Yes.
And will I be able to contribute? Will I be able to show up fully as myself?
Mhm.
How does that play in with the pause? Because what comes to me, Kelly, tell me if I'm right, according to like your view here, is like when we start saying no, then we get time back. And that
Mhm.
is the pause. That's time to reinvest in us. Is that the power of the pause when it comes to calendaring?
Yes, that's one of them. And the wild thing that happens with my coaching clients is 9 times out of 10, they cut their work hours, 15 hours a week while they're at their job. And they're getting like crazy promotions and more opportunities because they are showing up iconically in their work. So the thing with like industry icon too, or being an icon is like, you don't have to be this famous person. That's why I'm like bringing it back to like the everyday people.
And you're setting them up so that when they join and they step into entrepreneurship, they actually have the skills to last in business because, as we know,
Mhm.
you need to take up space. You can't be, as Emma Greed was just saying, you can't be shy when you're an
Love that
entrepreneur.
term. Yes.
You have to ask for it. You have to get out there. You have to take up space. It's your energetic responsibility. And so many women, myself included, started entrepreneurship not having a clue about what you're saying. And it would have been so
Right.
nice to have these skills embedded in my psyche and have embodied them before I left the corporate world, because then you just hit the ground running.
Yes, I want to share too, because this has been a thought. And there's a lot of people who leave their job before they're set up. And like that's not too late to get some help, to get some mentorship, to get some guidance too. And I say, like, the sooner you can get on that, the better. And that is like the number one investment of your time and money and energy to make is to like get yourself set up so that you can become a sufficient entrepreneur who has your own back, who sees how like I create my own security. And even if I left my job, like I actually created my own security there too.
There's a an integration of this icon energy that comes into the women who want to stay in corporate or the ones that want to go on and work for themselves. But the voice has to come in because
Yes.
now they're saying yes and no, which before we make an utterance outside of ourselves, it is totally an internal voice. So
Mhm.
you are also helping women, it seems like, develop a trust in that inner voice that they can say no and it's safe and they can say yes. And when they do, it's so on fire potent. How important is it, do you think, to develop that relationship to that inner voice?
Oh, critical, very critical. And I'm just thinking back to my old job days, my public health days. I help people advocate for healthy communities. And we would sometimes ask people to speak to city councils. And a lot of times people were nervous to do that. And we would always say to them, like, sometimes the shakiest voice, the most nervous voice, is the most powerful one.
Yeah.
So, like, how you help people, Kimberly, is so huge because you help remove the shakiness, the fear, the like, you help create embodiment of the voice. And I think what's so beautiful about what you do is like you meet people where they're at. And if your voice is shaky when they come into your world, that doesn't mean it doesn't have power.
Right.
There's still so much significance in what you're saying. And now we just like remove the tremble
Yeah.
and like you hold your own when you're
Yeah.
saying this thing. You
And
speak with conviction.
you hold your tension, the friction, as you say. Like
Hmm.
that, let's not make the tension slash friction wrong to begin with.
No.
Let's nurture a relationship to it and trust that it's safe to be there. That is what an icon does because we're
Yes.
consistently leveling it up and we're consistently stepping into bigger and bigger rooms and more of us gets to come along. It's through this responsibility of the calendar. The calendar seems like this really cool mirror, helping
Yeah.
us to learn about where we're stuck and where we need to go. And now there's this beautiful relationship and neutrality that gets to be brought in even with the inner voice. My listeners are both. They are definitely entrepreneurs, but I have a lot of women who are in real estate, in the legal
Mhm.
world, in sales, and they're looking to become an icon because what I hear is becoming an icon is getting your time back, getting your self respect back, and it's
Yes.
ultimately efficiency and money in the bank. I want to know how we can work with you. Should we want to set up a call or anything? But before we get to that,
Mhm.
talk to them about where they're at right now, probably, and what they need to know about taking a next step.
I love this question. And the answer that's coming to mind is actually where you think you need to be marketing yourself in your business, or even like going for a promotion if it's in your job. Let's take two steps backwards.
Okay.
And the selling isn't about selling your thing to other people. The truest form of like being the icon and really like having your own back, you have got to first learn how to sell yourself on you.
Oh,
Where am I not giving myself credit? Where am I not like being my own best client and saying, like, here's why I would buy me. Here's why I would sell me. If
yes.
you're not knowing, liking, and trusting yourself, then how are you going to convince another to do the same?
Right. And it's so brilliant because they won't hold it once, because you have to, if you're going to make a bold move to switch jobs or ask for a promotion or leave and start your own business, you always will be falling back on how much do you love yourself or how much do you hate yourself. And the women who learn, you said in the beginning, Kelly, running a business is really this opportunity to figure out how much you can love yourself,
Mhm.
and you're bringing us right back to that. So this external move that someone wants to do in their business or in their career is really based and tethered on this internal relationship. Kelly, this has been really eye-opening, and I know for everyone listening, this has brought together and sewn together so many different concepts, ordinary concepts that we're using every day, like the calendar and like our voice. It's such an elevated level. Thank you so much. And to everyone listening who wants to know, how can we get started working with you? Do you have any invitation for us so that we can become the icon that we are right now?
Absolutely. Every time I talk to you, Kimberly, you're so good. If everyone listening, if you can just like appreciate this person you get to listen to every week, every time you turn on her podcast, like just remember you're listening to an icon. And I have fangirled over your branding, like Vocal Honey. Like that's iconic, by the way,
Thank
is like
you.
you've found like this speaking, right? Like let's say like the speaking industry is saturated as is
Yeah,
coaching, as
it
is
is.
all these industries, right? And we could lean on that as an excuse to not.
Mm.
That's so easy to just like, man, it's saturated. I'm not going to. But what you've done is like you've taken this like very specific, nuanced piece of that pie and like gone deep with it. And that's iconic. Like you have a way of doing what you do unlike any other person out there, hands down. So I just
Thank
want to
you.
love up on you about this and like, guys, local honey, like everything is so good. You can go so many ways with your branding. I just love it.
I
Um,
appreciate
so
that so much. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
well, and I want to say too, like that's one of the things I do is like this is me. Like I will fangirl over you, and I'm like, I love this idea of like branding. Like let's bring it to life. And so we can do that through like one-on-one coaching and really like lay that solid foundation like for your business, do that identity work, but also like that inward identity work, but then also that like outward brand identity work too. They really go hand in hand, which is why I call phase two of the industry icon method brand therapy. If you want to do group coaching, industry icon method is the place where we have some really rich conversations. There's a curriculum that follows the industry icon method. And if you're looking for a smaller entryway, a smaller entry point, I don't want to say smaller as in it's not significant. It's actually like one of the most powerful programs I've created due to feedback from the people who have been in. A program called Own Who You Are is a 13-day audio experience where I drop 13 codes of the woman who is magnetic. And it is short audio trainings, but they are profound, they are potent, and they will shift your perspective on you. Essentially, it's all the groundwork of selling you on you. You will be sold on yourself at the end of these 13 days.
That sounds absolutely perfect. Everything Kelly just mentioned, guys, is going to be below in the show notes on the YouTube channel or below in the podcast recording. Kelly McIntee, thank you again so much, Queen. And I will absolutely be seeing you soon and having you back on the show. But on behalf of the audience, too, we thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's always just a delight to get to be with you.